Hiya, and welcome back to Password. The game that teaches us that I don't even know what else can be said anymore. I do not know what else could be said anymore. We have been going at this because my... Yeah, that Roswell can never be saved. Because Amethyst, my brain will murder me. My brain will not let me let something that we started go uncompleted. So we have to. Anyways, let's just hop right in. That and all the routes are... I would rather not add on to the mental torment. I'd rather not add on to that. Plus, again, it's literally just really only one route that we have to do. Then it's just holding down control a bunch of times. Yeah. The day played through my mind. Not solid enough to form a dream about it, but the event still rang true. The dream, Dom, the talk. That said, I will say this, we will take about a week after finishing Orlando. We will take a week after finishing Orlando and play a different game. Benson collapsing and Thanatos' plan to do something. If Sal and Haas hadn't shown up, who knows what would have happened. But 2 days. That's all we had until the next event was going to happen. Was it a lot of time or just a little? The idea kept bouncing in my head between the two the more I thought about it. As I opened my eyes, I took a moment to adjust. Carefully, I looked at the ceiling and flexed each of my fingers in turn, making sure that I wasn't asleep. I felt silly that that's what it had come to, but I breathed out knowing I was properly awake. Orlando seemed to be fast asleep, although I could see the wrinkles in his face as he slept. Even in his dreams he was worried and I couldn't blame him. His dad was out for us. We'd had a close encounter with 2 of his lackeys so far. And on top of that, he was dealing with keeping me in mind too. I wondered if there was anything I could do for him with everything going on. A lot of it felt out of my control, but for the sake of my boyfriend, that didn't sit right with me. As I got dressed, he mumbled in his sleep, trembling. Not that it lasted long. He rolled over soon after and seemed to get comfortable in his new position. I got dressed and headed downstairs, thinking maybe I could get breakfast going as one less thing for him to worry about. When I got there, I spotted Dean outside by the back door with a mug of coffee, and my focus immediately shifted into getting some for myself. The moment I stepped into the kitchen, I made for the coffee pot and got myself sorted. This is only path B of Orlando's route. This is only path B. Let me check something. Because, like, I think we're almost done with path B. Let me check. I'm checking right now. How many paths are there? I think it only goes up to G. Alrighty. Day 21. Okay, what about day 22? Hang on. We'll be here for a minute. Do we just want to finish path B tonight? Even though we will be here for a few hours? The moment I stepped into the kitchen, I made for the coffee pot and got myself sorted. Rationing out a little of the milk from the refrigerator took my coffee a little darker than usual. Not that it mattered when the bitter flavor hit my tongue. The warmth and the jolt of endorphins that came with my favorite drink gave me the jump I needed to properly wake myself. Though not bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, I could feel myself start to take the stock a bit easier. There's also the true end, which we're doing last. Dom would be back tomorrow, and if what Thanatos said was right, we'd be trading off Benson for our safety, or as a way off the mountain. It didn't really sit all that well with me, but it wasn't as if I had a say in it. Yeah, 8 counting path P, which we are not doing path P until we do Tyson's route, so... Going to the pantry, I was reminded of our food situation. Best not to touch anything in case Orlando already had plans for every little bit in there. Plans to make breakfast went out the window. The faint tapping of his foot on the counter clued me into him being there before I turned around, but he was there all the same. What are you doing? Thinking. About... Hiya. Stuff. Stuff and things. Things, stuff. Stop that! What else am I supposed to do? Making yourself useful seems like a good start. And how am I meant to be doing that exactly? Dom is coming tomorrow. Right? If we play nice and we get off the mountain. Right? You think you'd have listened to what I said yesterday. He's variable. I still don't really know what you mean by that. Things went right yesterday. He listened to you. We just have to wait. You really think it's going to be that simple? I hope it will be. What about Jack, then? What about him? You think he's just going to let all of you walk off the mountain? Think Memphis will do the same? Yes. Well, that's why I said it's variable. Sometimes they don't. Even after Dom made his deal? Who do you think you're dealing with, Junior? Really? It's not like I've had to make deals or talk to the Mafia before. I don't know how this works. I'm just scared. I want to go home. I want to keep my friends safe. Then think about how you're going to do that. Can't you just tell me what's not worked already? Not doing anything doesn't work. There's a clue. I growled, stepping closer to him, but he took a couple steps back as if expecting me to do something. I hate how you make me feel, by the way. Like, I don't have a say in anything. Like, I don't have any control. None of this bad stuff will be happening if you weren't around. You really think so? I know so. If you weren't a thing, then Memphis wouldn't be trying to get you. People wouldn't have to be dying to test how this thing works. Who knows what else? Take that back. You don't know anything, Dave. I know enough. I was assaulted by a sound that made me buckle but not pass out. You know nothing. You can't even comprehend how many times I've had to watch all of you die. How many times I've been left alone for countless years until I wake up the next time around to do it all again. I looked up at him standing at the edge of the counter. The same conversation, the same questions, and all for what? I'll tell you what it wasn't for, Dave! This has been an eternity solving a problem that has no answer! I don't know. So when I ask you about Jack, what are you going to do? What is going on in here? Orlando? Oi! Talk some sense into Dave! Thanatos? The hell did you do to him? I was pulled from the ground and dusted off, Orlando adjusting the coffee cup in my hand before huffing at the rat on the counter. Nothing that wasn't necessary. I find that hard to believe. He wants me to think about what I'm doing about Jack. What? Did I hear that correctly? I turned to look at Roswell, who seemed out of it, stumbling into the room slightly. You look terrible. Rude. I feel terrible. What was it about Jack? Is he here? Not yet. At the rate we're going, it's unlikely. That's good, right? Rothwell, sit down. You look like you're about to collapse. I'll be fine. If he's not sitting down in the next minute, he's going to be on the floor and chip one of his tusks. You're bluffing. Wait and find out then. But what about the Jack thing? Are we in danger? Orlando caught Roswell as he started to wobble. The minute wasn't close to being up, but I looked across to Thanatos. We should talk, shouldn't we? Are you willing to listen? I still don't trust you, Thanatos. Well, good thing we pivoted away from you being to help anyone a long time back. Sal, Haas, and Dean are outside. Tyson will be down shortly and join them. I'll be taking Dave for a bit. What about me and Orlando? Rest or whatever. Dave will fill you in later. What I think was the first time Thanatos led the way out of the kitchen towards the front door, not by climbing up onto my shoulder, but walking along the floor ahead of me. I opened the door ahead of him, and he stepped out first, with me closing the door behind us soon after. My hand was shaking, and I sipped on my coffee, looking out at the trees, trying to spot anything Thanatos seemed to be looking for. I owe you an apology. Am I going to get one? What do you think? Probably not. Well, at least you've got that right. Level with me. Do you hate me, all of us? That's complicated. That's not an answer. Why does it matter what I answer? What you think of me and what I think of you lot doesn't matter, all things considered. Outside of you needing us to help you anyway. Naturally, but we're so close, so painfully close. To the end. I sat down on the steps leading up to the front door next to Thanatos and continued to drink my coffee. You're talking about our escape? It goes well then? It can, but that's yet to be seen. Things still need to happen. I'm just going to assume you're either going to tell me specifically what I need to do or tell me literally nothing and I'm just meant to figure it out. If you haven't gathered already, you need to have a plan for Jack. How can you even plan around him? He's fast, has a knife. More than one, actually. Unless you can science me up some magical knife-proof armor, I don't think I have what it takes to deal with that. I've been trying to find a reliable solution myself.
Keeping Dominic alive has worked so far.
Ah, shit. Because he can keep his work buddy in check?
Don't underestimate how much that bear wants an easy job. You're not going to outbid Memphis, but if you can make his life easier while still getting Memphis what he wants, Dom will make sure it happens.
But what if Dom isn't around?
Then we have a problem.
So, we need a contingency plan.
Unless you're keen on getting stabbed.
I drank deep from my coffee trying to think about it. Could we set a trap? Would a weapon be useful? Escaping? Looking down into my empty cup, I wondered where I could draw some inspiration from. Well, I don't want anyone to get stabbed.
One of you is going to need to be stabbed, though. Maybe a little.
Need? Who? Why?
Doesn't matter who. But if someone's going to take the fall there, assume Roswell will get in the way like he normally does.
And if I don't want Roswell to get stabbed?
You offering to take his place?
I didn't like the idea of getting stabbed, but I didn't like the idea of the others getting hurt more.
Careful, Junior. Show any more courage, and I'll think you're developing a hero complex.
It's not that. I just want my friends to be safe.
Yeah, I know. Heard that enough time. That's basically imprinted by now. Not as if telling you to give up and letting them die is going to be much different.
What did you say?
What?
Were you the reason I was thinking those things?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Classic self-sacrificing yeen, right? The thing! You're telling me to give up to let my friends die!
If only.
I reached out to grab him and he just hopped backwards out of reach.
Careful, Dave!
You know something, don't you? I knew what had happened the moment everything went black. Somewhere in the back of my mind I swore Thanatos' ability to just knock me out whenever he wanted. At least I was getting used to the sensation and knew what was happening. When I opened my eyes, I was restrained somewhere dark. Off in the corner against some sort of rusted pipe. I could smell blood, my face was dripping, my head ringing. Reckon the boss made the right call.
Dom! Buddy! Pal! Friend!
You can just say yes.
Look, I don't know, don't care. I just want to know when we can get some action. I'm so bored.
Could always go say hello to your friend if he's conscious. I could hear the glee in Jack's voice as he made a sound somewhere between a mix of a gasp and a squeal. Whatever it was, though, it made me sick to my stomach. Jack, could you not have a headache?
Spoil sport! Not like I have Memphis to mess with!
I strained to look from where I was, but not only was I not in control, their voices echoed far enough away that I got that they were deeper in the mill. Things started to fade away when I heard footsteps getting closer. I couldn't tell whose, but from where they started, it couldn't have been either Jack or Dom or Jack. When I opened my eyes next, I was greeted with the sun and a small throbbing headache. Ow. I was flat on my back, staring upwards with Thanatos just off to the side. He looked over my way once I'd made a sound and got closer. What happened?
I'll take credit for that.
I could feel myself start to get angry, but something stopped me. Something seemed off, familiar. You made me pass out again. Why? Thanatos gave me a look, eyes narrowing before he responded.
For fun. What kind of person even does that? Well, I'm hardly a person, am I?
Ugh. Looking over to Thanatos, he seemed confused about something, and I thought I knew that. I don't know what kind of person even does that.
Well, I'm
hardly a person, right? Me finishing his sentence gave him pause. Was he suspicious? Was it all just a big coincidence?
On a more serious note, 2 questions for you.
I don't know what I'm going to do about Jack.
Eh?
There isn't many options for us, is there?
What are you playing at?
Huh?
You know what you're doing!
What was the second thing you wanted to ask? I mean,
it's about you saw the little dream I gave you just now.
You mean memory?
Semantics!
I didn't reply, trying to understand how this conversation was going. It was like my dream. I knew how it was going to go, this time anyway.
Details, Dave!
It's basically what happened yesterday, except... Thanatos clapped in my direction to wake me up. I was maybe zoning out a little too much, being roused from my thoughts to look at him.
The hell is wrong with you?
What?
You know what?
I probably need therapy?
Yeah, among other things. From your perspective, have we had this conversation before?
Sort of.
Well, you tell me what happens next, then.
How about a test?
I ask you a question, you give me the answer?
And if I get it right?
Then we'll know you've been through this all before, and I'll treat you to something nice.
And the question is?
Where's the Leo medal?
My throat felt dry, in the place where Oswin does his best work.
Fuck off!
Do I pass?
We must have had this conversation before.
Not exactly.
Then how did you know?
Last night, the dream I had, you said you didn't cause it, but... Thanatos scratched his chin, thinking it over.
You're right, I didn't.
Which means...
You're remembering. Don't know how still, but you're remembering.
Have I remembered before?
Sometimes. It's inconsistent.
Huh. I scratched my head, unsure of what I was meant to do with that information.
What did you see when I put you under just now?
The inside of the watermill. At least I'm pretty sure it was there from what I remember when I was last there.
Anything else?
Dominic and Jack were there, talking about something. I was bleeding, maybe. Tied up to something in the corner, though.
Interesting.
Interesting, good or bad?
Just interesting. Something to think about.
Because you're not giving me a lot to go off of.
Just because it's interesting to me doesn't mean it's going to be interesting to you.
Fine, keep your secrets.
Besides, you probably want to know where the Leo medal is.
Well, yeah, the place where Oswin does his best work, so the lab?
No.
What do you mean, no?
That isn't where he does his best work.
Then where?
Let's go for a walk.
Thanatos climbed up my shoulder and guided me back inside. From there it was towards the stairs leading up.
Over there.
I followed his outstretched arm to a bookcase and tilted my head. You want me to grab a book?
2, actually.
And the medal is going to be inside?
In a sense.
How can a single medal be inside 2 books? Is it broken, or... Took a step back, looking over the bookcase. This is like the one that leads to the library from the conservatory, isn't it?
Well done. The 2 you want are those.
He pointed to 2 books, neither of which looked out of place, but that seemed to be the point. Much like the other bookcase, I heard the click.
Now just push that aside and we can go in.
Inside it seemed fairly ordinary as rooms went. Nothing seemed off in any case, just a small desk with the walls lined with books on what shelves were available. Has this been here the whole time? Right? Nah, there better be a necessary dungeon item inside. Has this been here this whole time? I sat Thanatos down on the desk and looked around.
Sure has. Normally Oswin uses. A couple others have found it already too.
Who?
Roswell and Haas both have. Not that they did anything with the information after seeing the room was empty.
Huh.
Time's ticking. You're looking for a book.
Another secret passage?
Not this time. Oswin's sister hid this one away too.
Alright, then what's the book?
The 3 Little Pigs.
Oh, I know that one.
Not this version.
Oh, how is this one different?
You want me to tell you a story, or do you want the medal?
Both.
Find the book and I'll give you the abridged version.
Any clues, or should I just start searching?
Get looking. I'll wait.
I started at one end and slowly scanning the books with my fingers running over the spines. Making sure I didn't miss any by accident, I took it slow. While I look, can I ask you something?
What?
Right? What were you planning on doing after you drugged Benson?
Going to find something else to do.
No, I mean, were you just going to leave us to deal with that?
All you'd know is that he'd fallen unconscious and likely a short coma. The original plan was to send him over unconscious to sate Dominic's want for as little complications as possible.
An easy job.
Right. Then when the time would come, we'd renegotiate the deal. That's where Roswell comes in.
What are we going to have Roswell do?
Follow Dominic, obviously. Someone's going to need to find out where the way off the mountain is. And Benson is a much bigger prize.
They sent me away to find them a fortune, a chest filled with diamonds and gold. The house was awake with shadows and monsters. The hallways they echoed and groaned.
They're not going to notice Roswell tailing them if he can keep a low profile.
And in the worst case scenario?
He's fated to die soon anyway. Yeah, most efficient use of the pieces we have.
But...
Dave! That's the book you're looking for!
Looking back where my hand was, I hooked my finger into the top of the spine and pulled it carefully from its spot on the shelf. So it's in here, huh?
Well, no point waiting. Open it up and get the medal.
Okay, I'm going! I did so and found a section of it hollowed out. The pages hadn't been glued together, but the bulk of the book, or maybe its age, kept the thing together. This is a bulky children's book.
Nothing about that story is for children, Dave.
Carefully setting the book down, I picked up the medal. Leo. That wasn't all that was in the book. A lone photograph left underneath it. What's this? Oh, that is adorable.
Take it in, Dave. Who do you think these three are?
Well, it's obviously Oswin and his siblings, right?
That's right.
But why is this here? Look at the skunklies.
You'd have to ask Florencia, which is a bit hard at the moment.
Yeah, it's just so strange.
Go on.
That Oswin was a kid once like us. Now the people here were once just kids.
And?
Did they go through anything like this? If they did, could that be why it's happening to us? I breathed out, shaking my head. But now Oswin is dead, and wondering about that probably doesn't matter. I put the photo back in the book and placed it back on the shelf, pocketing the medal.
What are you planning on doing with that?
I don't know. Show the others for starters and then leave it with the rest.
And?
And while I'm at it, think about what I'm going to do about Jack.
Good.
But I don't know what you could possibly expect me to do. Have I done anything notable in the past, or...
Don't know. Whatever happens, it happens out in the woods, way outside of my maximum range.
And no one tells you afterwards.
Let's just say other things get in the way.
Alright, well, I'm just going to accept that and figure it out. Maybe I'll ask the
I
others.
sat alone, in bed till the morning, him crying they're coming for me, and I tried to hold the secrets inside me. My mind's like a deadly disease.
Alright, well, I'm just going to accept that and figure it out. Maybe I'll ask the others.
There you go.
But before I go, what happens in this version of the story?
Right. So the story's the same for the most part. 3 pigs, 3 houses, you get the gist.
Then what's the difference?
There's no wolf.
Then how does the story function? Isn't the big bad wolf kind of important to how the story goes?
First, a little pig leaves home, gets sick and dies, poisoned by the influence of the outside world, and ultimately done in by a rabbit that offered them a piece of chocolate.
Clearly not the Easter Bunny, then.
The second one goes somewhere far away and is presumed dead. This one was also offered chocolate, but instead turned into a rabbit. That's as good as dead from the author's eyes.
Took a moment to look for an author's name on the spine, but nothing stood out.
And the third...
Survived?
Yes.
And that's it, he just survived.
They survived, yes, though the rabbit didn't. Cooked alive in the house after trying to burn it down.
That's really not a children's story.
I told you that already. No need to have a sweeping epic for children when there aren't any pictures either.
Except the book did have a picture.
You know what I meant!
I think what bothers me is, there really wasn't a lesson to learn, was there? Just that be wary of rabbits because they're going to poison you or turn you into one of them, or, I guess, try and burn down your house?
Outside being wary of rabbits specifically, there was no lesson.
Racist.
Pretty much. Regis liked to have such books on hand, apparently.
Regis Hammond?
Right, meaning that'd be Oswin's father.
Huh. Alright.
Before I forget, probably best you head downstairs now before you miss it. I'll catch up.
Something important?
You'll find out when you get there.
I left Thanatos in the study and headed back downstairs with the Leo medal in my hand. Just, what else are we meant to do? I froze on the spot and decided to listen and wondering what was happening. Is there anything we can do? I'm not a doctor, but he doesn't look good. Oh no. I inched forward and stuck my head around the corner, wondering what they were talking about. Well, we can't leave him like that, can we? Sal looked over my way, catching my eye, but didn't say anything, instead turning to Dean. I agree. We can't leave Roswell like that. Dean gave him a funny look, and I took that as my cue to enter the conversation. Did I hear something about Roswell? What happened? Roswell isn't feeling too great. That's an understatement. Yeah, seemed alright for a little bit, but then took a turn for the worse. And we aren't doing anything to help? Is there anything we can do? None of us are doctors. What about Benson? We can't ask him? He's still unconscious. Alive, but we can't wake him. Orlando's with him at the moment, so it's not as if he's been left by himself. Who? Benson or Roswell? Sorry. Orlando was with Roswell. We left Tyson with Benson. Oh, okay. So what do we do? That's what I want to know. Dean, we don't know. Look, I'm going to go find out what Tyson's doing. Maybe Dave has some ideas on what's best for Roswell. I turned to Sal, scratching my head. How long has Roswell been out of it? I didn't think I was gone for that long. We came inside for coffee and almost knocked him over. Said something about needing to find you and almost collapsed into Dean. Then, after we grabbed Orlando, we were about to come find you. Well, I'm here now. No. Well, I'm here now. We continued into the dining room to find Orlando rubbing Roswell's back as he sat in a chair.
I'm okay. I'll be okay.
Roswell, what happened? Is there anything we can do, or... Turned to face me briefly, but it was as the others had said. He looked out of breath, eyes dilated. Part of me even wondered if he even knew I was there.
I just...
Hey, don't talk. You're just going to wear yourself out. Roswell started to nod quickly before he passed out then and there on the table. Hey, Rothwell! Sal rushed forward and checked Roswell over. His temperature, his pulse. He's breathing, but he doesn't look comfortable. He looks like he's in pain. Well, do something now. We can't just leave him like this. I stepped back out into the foyer and immediately called out, Thanatos!
No need to yell, I'm already here.
He was sitting on the stairs patiently, clearly knowing I was about to come yelling. What's happening with Roswell? What do you think? What do we do?
Nothing. Not as if there's anything to do about it.
But what about tomorrow? What about your plan that you had in mind for him?
Everything's going as it should, don't you worry.
You knew this was going to happen and didn't say anything?
What would you have done if I told you? Not as if you could cure him.
But Thanatos!
Sheesh! You were crying my name out like that and I'm going to put you under again.
He stood up and made a show of dusting his hands off before gesturing me closer.
Or... maybe we should go downstairs so you can give putting in the password a try.
There's a password?
There might be.
He doesn't have the normal tells, but he's almost certainly lying.
Who would you rather believe, Dave?
That even a question? Haas. Absolutely for sure. Believe Haas.
Real nice, Junior.
Ty made a move to kick Thanatos off the stairs, but was effortlessly sidestepped.
Listen, you want some help or not?
Help for Roswell or help for what exactly? Dave, think about what he's offering you. I'm thinking! I've been thinking too.
What about?
Say they come for us tomorrow, right? Why don't we just fucking bail? Big dog, we've talked about that not being an option. Nah, I get the road thing. I mean just not be in the fucking house. I don't get it. You mean we just be outside? Hide in the woods or whatever, yeah. Wait until they get bored and just come back when they leave. I get my mom. I have my mom's singing voice, kind of.
Yeah, go ahead and try that.
That tone almost sounds like it's not going to work.
You tell me. What do you think?
I scratched my chin thinking it over. If we hide nearby so we know when it's safe to come back, you've probably seen it. Which means you know how well that goes even if we don't come back.
I'll save you the effort and say that they know the woods better than you do. There's less of them and Dean and Dominic are about equivalent.
Sounds like we're screwed. Unless the exchange tomorrow goes well, right? With Benson out of commission and now Roswell unconscious. Speaking of, Benson's still sleeping. Seems fine otherwise. Assuming you haven't gone and drugged him while we weren't looking.
Me? Do something like that?
It does sound like something you do, though.
Well, I didn't. He's legitimately catching up on his sleep.
So we can just see what Benson thinks when he wakes up, right? Not as if there's any other options. That medicine for us, we're getting closer to being desperate, though. When we hit that point, what are we meant to do?
That's when you turn to me for help.
Meaning what?
You know exactly what that means.
Well, I don't know shit. It's not that hard to track, Dyson.
Now, we don't need to be so hasty there. Who knows what the morning will bring?
But it's not even lunchtime. Hardly the point he's making, Dave. Well, whatever the point is, I have no idea what we're meant to be doing now.
Do us a favor and take care of Dave for a bit. Time for me to have a chat with Haas and Orlando.
About what?
We'll get to that when you're taking me to Orlando.
I'm not giving you a lift. Haas was already walking back towards the dining room, ignoring Thanatos' gesture to be let up.
Not this time either, huh?
You'd probably mess up his mane or whatever.
In any case, you two do some talking. I'll check in later.
He ran after Haas, disappearing into the other room. So, we gonna talk? He looked around before sizing me up. Guess so. Lead the way, Ty. We headed upstairs and Tyson dropped into a chair, choosing to watch me pick one for myself as well. So, we should talk. Fuck knows what about, though. Ty, there's nothing at all that comes to mind. Okay, yeah, there's something. Don't know how important it is, though. Could be a little important if Thanatos wanted us to talk. Alright, well, it's about getting off the mountain, yeah? What about it? So, say someone goes into the woods with that Dom guy, right? How do we know they're coming back? Hiya. Yeah, I know, we're still doing this game. You don't think they will? Benson's out cold, and after that show Roswell had about promising us to let him die first but ending up dying now, doesn't mean he's going out there, does it? True, but... Ty just shook his head, shifting in his chair, clearly uncomfortable with what he was thinking. So, I'm gonna go. You? Why? I can see in the dark, and I'm not about to go leaving you on this mountain if I find a way out. You didn't consider escaping then and there and getting help? I'd reckon that's where someone like Dean or Sal might do, but fuck that. You don't think they'd come back? They wouldn't just abandon us, or at least I don't think so. Don't know. Didn't think to consider it when I know I'd come back. But you could escape and get the police! Take the escape while you have it before something else happens. And then come back to find out you've all been killed? Oh. All I'm saying is that I don't want to find out later that you've gone and died when I could have been around to keep you safe. What if you're the one being put in danger by going out there? I don't want to find out that you've been killed either. So that's your rub, huh? You have to pick someone expendable? I don't like the sound of that either. Well, tough, we don't have a choice, do we? Either we send someone or we give up finding that way home. He was trying to keep my gaze, but he seemed troubled by the idea as well. Was there anyone that we'd be willing to just let go in case the worst happens? Well, it'd be a case of having to pick at random. Here's another thing I wanted to run by you too. What's that? When we get home, want to go to the beach? Wait, what? When we get out of here, go on a proper vacation. It was a quick smile, but he flashed me one to test my mood. Just us, the Holloway brothers. We could get some ice cream or something, you know, like last time or whatever. Might have to consider letting me bring my boyfriend along for the ride. He was listening, already shaking his head, having decided how things were going to go. Fine, whatever point is, it'll be great. The conversation seemed to die there, though, fading into silence. The silence stretched until Tyson started to rub his head, eyes on the floor. I'm just worried. Me too. Do you think that's what the rat wanted us to talk about? Just that we're worried? Honestly, I have no clue, Ty. He's just... I don't know. So, I've been wanting to ask something else, if that's cool. What is it? So that rabbit is probably going to be back at some point now that we know he's not alone. So, are you, like, gonna be fine with that? No? Well, probably not. He almost killed me. Okay, good. Good? I mean, I'm not liking the idea of him coming back, so I want to do something about it. Such as... I've been trying to figure out what sort of trap we could set. Or if we could just go get Benson to shoot him. It'd make our lives a bit easier. Wouldn't that just annoy Dominic? Who the fuck cares? Because they're work buddies? And? Wouldn't that upset him? Again. And? Won't he want to, like, get revenge? You see the cogs turning in Tyson's head slowly as he reasoned out what I'd said. Sorry, I'm hydrating. I'll be right back. I'm gonna let Tyson's brain try and figure out what's going on. And I'm back. Yeah, we gotta let, Woof Woof Bark Bark Boy, like, figure out what the fuck he's doing. Shit. Thanatos has been on my case about trying to figure out what to do about Jack, but I'm getting the impression that there isn't really anything we can do after all. Maybe do nothing. He says that doesn't turn out well either. And if he's lying? Oh shit! Oh shit, that's Runaway by Aurora! Dude, I don't know. What about you just leave Jack to me? I'll think of something. I guess that's fine. I watched as Tyson stood from his chair and came closer. He pulled me carefully to my feet and looked me in the eye. I love you, you dork. To get a word out, he had his arms around me in a tight hug. Started to rub my back and I hugged him back, breathing out. Part of me knew what was at stake, already knowing our lives were on the line. Holding Ty like this and having him hold me back really cemented it. At any moment, I could lose this. I could lose what I had with any of my friends, and the pit in my stomach grew to the point I started trembling. Oh, I'm a music nerd. I thought of Roswell dying, I thought of everyone in danger already, and as my trembling grew, Tyson's grip around me tightened. Hey, you're alright. How about we head back down, see how things are going there? Yeah, okay. Hoth, it's a rat!
Sure.
Everyone seemed to already be there by the time Tyson and I arrived, with the notable exception of Roswell. Plus Benson, naturally. I assumed he was still asleep, given no change had been mentioned by Tyson, or even Hoss when I ran into them before. What's going on? Thanatos is being a menace.
Am not.
You kinda are. What's he doing, though?
Nothing.
What do you mean? You came in here wanting to talk to me, but just started talking nonsense. I wouldn't say nonsense. Peter was absolutely looking to pick a fight with someone. What did he say?
With Roswell out of commission, I just wanted to see if Orlando wanted to go see his dad.
Wow. Wow. I don't want to see my dad. I don't think any of us do. He also followed up saying that Orlando's life is pretty expendable to which a good deal after was spent making sure Orlando didn't roast him. Yeah, probably good that he doesn't for now. It does raise an important question, though.
Go for it, big guy.
What exactly was the plan for tomorrow?
What do you mean?
Benson is unconscious, so going with Dominic tomorrow is a bit out of the question.
Not true.
What do you mean?
I'm only going to say this once, so listen up. The plan is to give Benson over to Memphis, and someone is going to follow along and find out where the exit off the mountain is.
You're crazy, like that even work. That'd ever work.
Depending on who goes, it's very possible.
You've seen it work before? How? When? Who goes?
What have I told you before, Dave?
Many things.
Right, well, specifically, this is all variable.
Hey, Sal? Yeah, Hoss? We're not believing him, are we? Well, I'm not. I'll say that right now. He tries and drugs Benson. Now he's just expecting us to go along with what he says and it'll be fine.
I never promised fine.
Do you promise I'll get off the mountain?
I'm not promising that either.
So what exactly are we meant to do? You made a deal with Dom we can't even fulfill for what? A couple extra days of worrying what's going to happen to us? I do admit I'm a little unclear how things are going to play out. Especially given he said he had other plans for Roswell. Well, once he planned for Roswell to fall sick, suddenly his plans are ruined too. Speaking of, where is he? We placed him in the side room to lay down. Passed out soon after we got him comfortable. You don't think that it's happening sooner than we thought it would? If it was, I imagine Thanatos would be making more of a spectacle out of it.
I would not!
Well, that's good. Leaves us without an option of what we're meant to do, though. Well... Ty shook his head, grumbling. Yeah, I know. Dave and I were just talking it out. I should be the one to go. Why's that? Not that I'm opposed, but I have to agree. Why? I'm not about to go leave Dave on... Not about to go leave Dave on the mountain with the Mafia on the loose, so I'm the least likely to take the exit to save myself. I don't know about how I feel about the way you phrased that, but I see your point. Wouldn't it make more sense for me to go? I'd do a better job of navigating the forest than anyone else here. That does sound like it'd make more sense. But it'd mean you have to follow Dominic without getting caught, then come back without being found out. That's assuming that you found the way off the mountain. I know what's at stake. If I fail, then what? Well, don't answer that, Dave. It was rhetorical. We should both go. And have twice the odds of being found? What if you get found, huh? They were already working each other up without anyone adding to things, despite neither option being great. So I did the first thing I thought of. In a flash, I fished the medal out of my pocket and noisily threw it onto the table. What's that? Is that one of the medals? Yeah, I found it earlier. Figured, now would be a good time to bring it out before a fight happens. Good idea. So which one is this, then? No idea. Anyone? Oh, this one is Leo. A lion, huh? Shame it wasn't me that found it, huh? Probably for the best, really. What is that supposed to mean? Just where I found it, that's all. Which was where? The study attached to the museum. I don't think I follow the point you're trying to make. Hold on. There's another room attached to the museum? Yeah, apparently Hoss and Roswell have found it. You didn't think to tell any of us? It's not that big a deal. There wasn't anything in there. Besides, it's not as if Roswell is getting the third degree about it. Rothwell is also currently unconscious. Still, that's one less medal we need to find, which is good, right? Yeah, but that doesn't solve anything with tomorrow.
I guess it wouldn't hurt to go through our options. So far, Tyson and Dean have both volunteered, but...
If it's your dad out there, probably best that you don't run the risk, Orlando. Besides, there's that whole bright yellow thing you have going on isn't going to camouflage well in the forest.
That's true. Given how fond of Sal Dad is, chances are if he gets caught, he wouldn't be allowed back either.
Halstan, I bet you can run fast. Got that right. But I don't know how well I'd go seeing them armed. I was already pretty shaken just seeing Dom with one.
Just so we're clear, I don't have to go either, right? Because of Jack?
Oh, God, no. I don't think we were ever in the running for going out there, not after last time. Oh, well, good. But then who should go?
Who indeed?
He pointed at Dean and Tyson in turn before looking back to me.
Seems like you have 2 prime volunteers right here.
I suppose it's a plan.
That's the face Memphis is going to see after you no-clip his ass.
Oh, shit. Guess that'll mean we should figure out exactly how this is going to go down. Will Benson be unconscious, or... I would imagine he would be, but he's been unconscious for a full day already. Is he going to stay that way?
Not unless you drug him, no.
We're not drugging Benson so he stays unconscious.
What happens if we let him wake up? I can assure you that he's not going to let himself be taken so quietly.
He kills Dom?
He tries.
And then what happens?
As I'm sure you can imagine, Dom returns injured, and soon after, Jack and Memphis arrive. I shouldn't need to tell you how that works out for you all.
Then we don't have a choice, right?
But we can't just keep him unconscious, can we?
Who knows what they'll do to him? The others seemed to murmur their agreement, but Thanatos seemed unfazed.
That's the choice you have to make. Sacrifice the otter and have a chance of survival, or don't. You have until tonight to come to a decision. So I'm just going to be waiting downstairs for one of you to tell me what you want to do.
I think we were all in too much shock to stop him from leaving. Occasionally we shared glances, but that was as far as we went. Orlando wandered towards the kitchen first, followed quickly by Haas. Shit. That's one way to put it. This can't be happening, can it? What Thanatos just said. It's either Benson or us. I felt sick. I thought about what sort of choice we were being presented and had to brace myself against the table. What if we just let Benson wake up and we go hide? I was wondering about that too. There's a problem with that. If Dom gets killed by Benson, then we're back to not knowing the way off the mountain. If he gets injured, I don't think he'll head towards the exit when he has allies. Unless they're holed up where they got on the mountain to begin with. Is that likely? If it's anything like how we got up the mountain, they'd be camping, right? Camped for days from the sounds of things, which doesn't go too likely. So it makes sense for them to use some sort of shelter, right? What about that watermill you found, Dave? Only person I saw there was Jack, and he followed me in rather than being there with Dom and I guess Orlando's dad. So maybe somewhere else. Look, as fucked as the situation is, it's not like we're about to go looking for the way out right now, are we? But Tyson, we can't just give them Benson. Who knows what they'll do to them? Well, I know what they're going to do to us if we don't. I looked at Dean, who seemed almost a little too calm about things, just rubbing his chin. Dean, if it's a choice between Benson or us, then it has to be us, right? One person potentially dying to save a handful of others compared to everyone dying instead. Dean! I'm not saying I'm happy with the choice, but if it's a choice between living or dying, then... When you reduce it down to that, then it's hard to really... What I mean is...
Great, so we agree. I'm going to go tell the rat what our decision is.
I grabbed Ty as he walked past, but found my grip slipping without him having to fight me. He didn't look back either, disappearing into the foyer, leaving me with Dean and Sal. I think I'm going to need a minute. I dropped onto the steps near the back door and buried my face in my hands. This can't be happening. Tyson was just ready to agree to let someone die so we could live and seemed so fine with it. What do you mean? Hang on, let me check the Discord. Amethyst, what did you say? Amethyst, what did you say? What did you say? And I forgot to silence my phone. What did you say? As for me, though, the guilt was already making itself known by the sickening feeling in my gut. Just beyond where I sat was the forest where Dom had disappeared. Watching the shadows, I half expected someone to be lingering there, watching or waiting for us to make a move. What did Twitch do? But there was no one. I assumed I was out there alone for a few moments, and for a few moments I was. I watched as Roswell stumbled from the back door almost in a daze towards me, and then dropped to sit down. He said nothing at first, staring instead at a spot on the ground someplace far away. Wondered if he even knew where he was.
I think I know why you're troubled.
Huh? He didn't turn to look at me. Instead, seemingly more distracted by breathing and staying upright.
Tomorrow, when Dom comes for Benson.
It's not letting me take a look at it. Oh, copyright. It's copyright, Amethyst. It's copyright.
Benson.
You heard the others talking?
Thanatos.
He told you? Again, it seemed as though Roswell was distracted by something, but the longer he sat there staring off, I wondered if he even knew where he was. Roswell?
Dave, tomorrow is going to be bad.
You know?
Benson, if he doesn't die, everything.
Roswell. Amethyst, I actually have to worry about copyright, like, a lot. Oh no, not letters. Lyrics can be copyrighted. I have to understand copyright law, which I guess can be summed up as don't use copyrighted material or lawyers are going to give you a Disney Fast Pass straight to hell. Yeah.
Everything will stop. Everything has to stop. Everything.
Roswell made to stand, but instead fell over limp, leaving me stunned after his rambling. I thought he was unconscious. When I went to move him, I could feel him burning up. His face was scrunched up. He was breathing hard, but he seemed out cold otherwise. Hey! Wake up! As I gently shook Roswell, I caught sight of Thanatos standing by the back door. He just passed out! Thanatos wandered closer, looking towards Roswell before looking up at me once he'd reached where I'd been sitting.
Did he say anything?
Just that tomorrow's going to be bad. That if Benson doesn't die, we'll... You know what he was talking about?
Oh yeah, just give me a sec.
As held Roswell, Thanatos climbed up Roswell's front and lightly kicked his nose.
Yep, he's unconscious.
I could have told you that. We need to get help, right? He was meant to be inside, but...
No time for that. Got something more pressing.
What's that?
Oh, you know.
I know. Internally, I swore. I would have done so externally if I hadn't just been knocked out again. Or at the very least, I was sure that's what had happened from the familiar stabbing pain in my head that preceded the darkness. The other giveaway was that I tried calling out, but no sound came out. Instead, I just had to wait and float there until I regained some level of consciousness. Ugh. I was flat on my back staring at the sky. Rolling over, I looked around but couldn't see Roswell or Thanatos. What are you doing? Blame the rat. Ty, I need a favor. What's the favor? Slap me across the face quickly. I'm not doing that. Fine! The moment I felt my hand impact my cheek, things went black again. Must have been another memory rather than the real thing. Just as well, but I probably shouldn't slap myself so hard to check. Ugh. Once again, I found myself flat on my back, and immediately I started to raise my hand towards my face. What are you doing? I'm about to slap myself again. Okay, you do that. At least I don't need to drag your ass back inside like Roswell had to be. I froze, my hand barely against my face. You just carried Roswell back inside? Sal did. And you were about to carry me back inside. Pretty much. Don't know how long you were both out here because no one saw you from the back door. I don't even notice when Roswell wasn't where we left him. Huh, okay. So, why were you unconscious? Blame the rat. He'd do something to you? Yeah, he made me black out again, but I don't really know why. Well, whatever he did was messing with Roswell, something fierce. Oh no. Roswell was like that before I blacked out. He was almost foaming at the mouth? The fuck happened? Wait, no, go back. He was foaming at the mouth? Looked like it, although he was thrashing about a bit next to you. Like he was having some serious bad dream or something. Huh. And I was just there? You were groaning and frowning and junk, but nowhere near as bad as he was. Where is he now? Where's Thanatos? Roswell's back where we put him originally, I think. No idea on the rat. Didn't realize he came outside, but he moved pretty quick after I told him what we're on board with drugging Benson. Yeah, it seemed Roswell was on board with that too. He say something? Just that if Benson doesn't die tomorrow, then we're screwed. Or that it's going to be bad regardless. Well, shit, it's sorry to say that we're just going to have to live with it. Literally, I guess, yeah. Assuming that it even means we get to. I hate to say it, but yeah, we don't have a choice. Ty finally offered out a hand and helped me to my feet, stepping back as I dusted myself off. It's normal to just feel absolutely horrible about this, right? I sure as hell don't feel great about it, but I'm not about to choose to die if I get a say. But at the cost of someone else's life? What? When they don't get to choose? None of us like it, Dave. It's a shit situation we're in, but what choice do we have? And then what? You're going to follow Dom into the forest? Either me or Dean? Yeah. Please don't. You don't trust me? I don't want you to die! I'm not gonna die. You don't know that? I promise. I punched him. Not hard, not in anywhere tender, just enough and suddenly that I caught him off guard. You can't promise that. You don't know. No one knows what's going to happen tomorrow. We might not get home. We might not survive, so just don't go promising that you'll be okay if you leave. It'll hurt worse if you break it. He went to speak a couple of times before just backing down, taking a step back. You two doing alright? Dean looked between us, but we kept our eyes on the ground. Did something happen? Dean, don't go into the woods tomorrow. What? Dave doesn't want either of us to go into the woods. But if no one goes, how are we meant to get off the mountain? It's not like he's going to show us the way while he's lugging Benson along, is he? Well, no. But... And if we're in that much danger... He gets it. It's just a shit situation. That's one way of putting it. We also have additional problems, such as Roswell. He's in no state to move anywhere unless carried, and depending on the route we need to take might be a bit problematic. We can't just abandon him either. I agree. Sal? Yes, Dean? You volunteering to stay with Roswell while the rest of us bail? Well... If you feel bad about leaving him behind while the rest of us try and get off the mountain, it means we're willing to stay, yeah? We're getting a bit ahead of ourselves, aren't we? We won't know the exit immediately, so maybe Roswell's condition will improve. I looked between each of them in turn, but they all had their heads hung, not wanting to offer anything in response. Right? I should go and check on Orlando and Haas. Last I heard, they were still worried about the decision. We have to come to one, right? Yeah, Dean and I are just going to talk it out while you fill in the others. Dave, go with Sal. Better you're not here for this. But, it's alright. We'll fill you in later. Sal took me by the hand and we wandered back inside. As we made our way back inside, I kept looking back the way we'd walked, wanting to know what Dean and Ty were talking about. How are you two holding up? Orlando was in the middle of preparing a snack. Haas had a cup of tea, but his hands were shaking. Alright, let me take a look at the Discord. I'm taking a look at the Discord. I gotta do it on my phone. Okay. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the lyrics. I'm sorry, Amethyst. I don't know the lyrics. Orlando was... Yeah, I already read that. Not great. I don't know how Thanatos expects us to choose. I wouldn't worry about choosing. Not anymore. What do you mean? Tyson has told Thanatos that we're going with his plan. Benson will be sedated and... Don't you dare finish that sentence. Someone remind me to chew Tyson out for deciding for the group. In his defense, Dean and I are also of the mind that we're without an actual choice. Seriously? You're just fine with us giving Benson over to my dad? If the alternative is dying for being in the way. I don't like this. What are we meant to do, Haas? I don't know, but this feels wrong. When Roswell wakes up, I want to know what he thinks. He was conscious for a little bit, but, don't. Just don't. So that's it then? We're all just no discussing, no nothing? Aside from the morality of what we've decided, is there anything else to talk about? We're all not liking which way this is going to go, but beyond that, this sucks! I'm sorry to say that it gets worse. Roswell, he's getting worse, and right now, I don't think he's in any condition to go anywhere. Carried, maybe, but depending on the way out, we might not be able to take him. I don't like that. I don't think anyone does. Okay. I've never heard of them. If someone has to say, it would be, shot Orlando a grim look and he returned it right back. We both knew what he was about to say before the words came out of his mouth. Me. Maybe if I'm lucky, I'll be able to escape anything bad, at least for a while. Wait, if we're using that as reasoning, then it should be me, surely. Why you? I feel like if we're planning on bargaining like that, Memphis is the least likely to want to kill me. If I have to play pretend for a bit in order for my friends to have the best chance of survival, then I will. But you won't be playing pretend, or at least Dad won't accept you just playing along. So where does that leave us? We looked between each other with Orlando rubbing his face and groaning. I'll stay. If someone absolutely needs to stay, I'll do it. This is going to sound awful, because if we're talking in terms of morality, then an idea that I have, like, this is my own personal thought bubble. This is my own personal thoughts. If we're talking purely morality, this is a horrible idea in every situation. It's horrible, but if we're talking statistically, where most people survive, then unfortunately it is the best option. Well, it's a halfway decent option. Morally, it's a horrible option, but statistically, it's halfway decent. Here's the idea. Sal, and it mostly revolves around Sal. It's where... yeah, it's where Dave, Orlando, Haas, Tyson, and Dean escape with their lives. But it gets fucked up. It gets fucked up because it unfortunately requires Sal to commit murder. He would have to kill Roswell and Benson. It's horrible, but it's an idea.
I'll stay. If someone absolutely needs to stay, I'll do it. Hopefully Russell can just come with us then, so we don't have to, you know. I wandered over to the pantry to check our food with a frown. What are you looking for? Something sweet. I don't want to think about this anymore. You can't go eating your problems away. Not that it's really relevant to what you're discussing, but I had a question about Thanatos. What was the question? Where did he disappear to after Tyson went to go deliver our decision? Oh, that. I don't know. You're better off asking Tyson. He's outside with Gene at the moment. Fair enough. I'll make the most of it and let him know how I feel about him speaking for all of us without checking. I was about to answer Haas's question, watching him walk away before the words left my mouth. Tyson was likely going to fill him in anyway, but if I'd just been quicker, I could have saved him some hassle. Dave, step away from the pantry. If you want something that bad, I'll make you something. I don't know what I want. Maybe just sleep the day away so I didn't have to put up with anything between now and when it happens. Dave. You can't go sleeping either. You don't look all that tired, so maybe it's best to just try not to think about it. Orlando and I will make you some pumpkin bread. It's better to keep busy and fed rather than sit there and do nothing. I'll manage fine on my own. It was a slow process, slower than what I knew was normal, but it gave us something to do. Sal supervised, Orlando baked, and I cradled cup after cup of coffee until he was done. Tyson and Dean resurfaced at some point, seemingly come to an agreement that they didn't want to share. All that did was prompt me back to the pantry, and with it another round of baking fresh pumpkin bread. Haas returned after some time and said he'd had no luck finding Thanatos either, and Roswell seemed to be in just as much of a state as when Sal put him down. At some point I found myself so full that I felt sick, and with that came Ty's arm around me, along with the reassurance from Orlando that I'd be alright and he'd feed me something else when I was feeling better. Go lay down. I don't want to lay down. I don't know Sal's past. And all I'm going to say is, it's fucked up. So, apologies for that idea. Before I could kick up a fuss, Orlando spun me around and marched me towards the bed. Lay down. But he spun me around and pushed me lightly backwards so I was now sitting on the edge of the bed. Come on, you've been moping ever since you were brought in by Sal. I'm looking at putting my brother in danger, and if Roswell doesn't get better, my boyfriend doesn't get to escape with us. Assuming we even get an answer from whoever ends up going after Dominic. At least in one of those scenarios, Tyson will be fine, because he'd have come back. And if he doesn't, well, that's... I'm terrified for tomorrow, Orlando. So many things could go wrong. We could even die tomorrow. I'm sorry. What am I meant to do? What are any of us meant to do? He lunged at me in an awkward hug, knocking me onto my back and leaving him kneeling on the floor. All I know is that we're all going to suffer tomorrow, the least of which is because of what's going to happen to Benson. And then everything that follows is just going to be various degrees of being worse and worse, huh? Yeah. I wrapped my arms around him and breathed out. If we have to leave Roswell behind, are you really going to stay? I don't know, it scares me, but it scares me more about what Dad might do to the people I care about. Even if in Roswell's case he doesn't have a lot of time left. He punctuated his statement with another squeeze and dropped the volume of his voice. We just have to get through tomorrow, okay? Hold on for just a little while longer, and it might not turn out so bad. We remained like that for a while, but without me giving him a reply. I just couldn't bring myself to agree with the amount of worry I was still holding on to. Eventually, he ushered me to the shower when I didn't make a move on my own after he had one. Once clean, he bundled me up as we lay in bed. I felt warm and safe, but the lingering thought on my mind remained. But for just how long would I be able to enjoy Orlando's warmth? My heart! My fucking heart! In my dreams, I was haunted with what was to come once I finally woke up. Benson was going to be sacrificed so we could survive.
Yeah.
But even then, it wasn't a sure thing. We still had to take a risk by following Dom to the exit. Dean or Tyson were going to go in. Roswell was potentially not going to get better in time. Nothing about the next 24 hours was shaping up to be promising. Thankfully, I had nothing vivid to make me question where I was. I was right where I was when I'd gone to sleep. In a daze, I got up, dressed, and wandered downstairs in search of coffee. I needed to be alone just to sift through everything going on. We were going to kill someone to survive. Benson needed to die for us to survive. My stomach did a flip, and I groaned in an attempt to prevent myself from being sick. Made coffee, grabbed some leftover pumpkin bread, and nursed both while I tried to let it resolve in my head what was going to happen. Dean or Tyson was going to head into the woods to find this exit. Roswell might be staying behind for being too sick. No, I did shorten it. It's shortened down to a minute. Or it should be. Roswell might be staying behind for being too sick, and if he was, then Orlando would also need to stay. In the worst case scenario, the absolute worst, only 3 of us would be getting out. That's assuming we even found the way out, too. Please let today go well. Yeah, well, we'll just have to wait and see, won't we? Thanatos was on the counter again, but I lacked the strength to do anything more about his arrival. You look terrible. I feel terrible. Well, hopefully today goes well for you. Not that I know how it all plays out. How come? Does that matter? It's still going to happen anyway. To know if this is all just some sort of setup by you for some horrible thing down the line? Now, why would I go and do that? I can't imagine how any of this could just be what you're after. It's all so terrible. You're alive, aren't you? For how much longer? Depends. Oh? And at the rate we're going, I almost wonder if it's going to be worth coming out the other side alive. You don't have a choice. Of course I have a choice. I can decide if I live or die. Once we're in the woods, it's not as if you can do anything else to me. You're right about that. Once you're away from the house, you're away from me anyway. How many people died today, Thanatos? You don't want to know. How many people die tomorrow? You still don't want to know. Do I die? Not if I can help it. But you just said once we're in the woods, you can't do anything. Then don't go into the woods, genius. But that's the way out. I scoffed, brushing him off and grabbing my coffee. Where are you going? Out. He let me go, and I sat down on the steps leading up to the front door, coffee still in hand. Yeah. I should have probably explained that better. The plan was after we finish Orlando's entire route. But if we're going to stop after Path B to play something else to avoid burnout, then yeah, I'm all for it. He let me go and I sat down on the steps leading up to the front door, coffee still in hand. Pieces of the pumpkin bread was still stuck in my teeth and I picked at them with a claw. As mindless as it was, it gave me something to focus on. Dave? I almost jumped looking over my shoulder to Roswell, who had emerged from the front door. Roswell? You're up? Yeah, I saw the front door open and got worried. No, I mean, you were up, you're feeling better than yesterday, you were out of it, and then we were all sort of, worried. I'm doing okay, all things considered. My body feels heavy, my vision keeps coming and going as if someone's making me look through smoky glass, and my throat feels dry. Time for coffee? Maybe in a bit. He came down to sit next to me and cradled his head in his hands, looking across the lawn towards the driveway. Do you ever feel like someone's watching over you? What do you mean? Like, sort of like a guardian angel, maybe? Or a puppeteer? A puppeteer, kind of. That's really been Thanatos as of late. I suppose you've got a point. But I've thought about things like, is Dad watching over me, keeping me safe somehow? But I don't think he is. You don't think so? He's dead, that's it, really. No one is magically going to stop bad things happening to me, otherwise he would have stepped in already. I guess that makes sense. But I'm guessing you feel that there is. It's a nice thought, that's all. Maybe a friendly ghost, or some higher being wanting us delivered from tragedy. We have a rat claiming to be a god in the kitchen, but all he does is cause problems. On purpose. It's okay, yeah. That's fair. But you're sure you're feeling okay? As well as I can be, anyway. And you know what's happening today? What you told me yesterday? I remember. He sighed, staring off into space, looking troubled. I'm sorry that when I told you what I did, and then admittedly I'm not even entirely sure what I did tell you, that it probably didn't come out too clear. You said Benson had to die, otherwise everything would end. I don't think you could have been much more clear than that. Ah. Right. That is true, right? Yeah. Mind explaining that? Not much to explain. You can thank Thanatos for the heads up. He told you that had happened? That if Benson didn't get handed over? Roswell shook his head, looking to me slowly. Benson needs to die. But what about the thing with Dom? What thing with Dom? What? The only thing Thanatos told me was that if Benson didn't die today, that we're all in danger. That's what I was telling you yesterday, right? My heart is going to break. With Roswell constantly talking about it. It is breaking. Ah, my heart. Like, I am... Should not be a secret. Should not be a secret. Roswell is my favorite. Roswell is my favorite. And... I don't know. But you said that Dom was coming for Benson. And that's not the same thing? Well, I assume that if you meant us handing over Benson so he could be killed, you'd have just said that, right? The plan, as I understand it, is that we're drugging Benson and handing him over to Dom. That's the plan, right? He was there for the plan. I was almost certain he was the one that even suggested handing Benson over. And you're sure? Roswell, you were there for us discussing this. I'm sure you were. Fuck. Fuck. He seemed legitimately confused and seemed to scan the ground while figuring out where his mind was at. Dave, what day is it? As in the date, or... He shook his head, scratching his chin. How many days has it been since the full moon? Well, that happened maybe 3, 4-ish days ago? What? No, that can't be right.
Why not?
It's been way longer than that, surely.
How much longer do you think it's been?
A week, at least. Is it really?
Roswell, what's going on? How could you not know?
It almost feels like a lie, but Thanatos, or I, have a theory anyway.
What's the theory?
When you've used the vault, how vivid are the things Thanatos shows you? How long do they last?
Not long, but they've been getting more vivid over time.
I've been asleep for most of the last few days, haven't I?
He stood up slowly, nodding.
I need to talk to Thanatos.
Before I could register what was going on, he'd scurried back inside, leaving me scrambling to catch up. Roswell, wait up! As I entered the kitchen, he and Thanatos were having a standoff. Thanatos leaning on what seemed to be a fresh cup of coffee. What's going on?
Drink the coffee, Roswell. You've poisoned it. I've done no such thing. Just drink it.
What's going on? Roswell slowly reached out for the mug and took it into his hands. His eyes trained on Thanatos as he brought it to his mouth. Stop! What are you doing?
I said it wasn't poisoned.
You said you didn't poison it.
It tastes fine. Not sweet enough, but it's fine. Now, what were you about to accuse me of? When I was sleeping over the past few days, did you do anything to me? Like what?
Like what you do to me. Put me under with the sound thing.
And make you see things? Yeah. What did you do and why did you do it? I don't even know what day it is anymore because I thought...
You thought that it was a few days after today.
Because I made him think he's been living through whole days while he slept. But why? Because I needed you to, or rather, because Dave needed you to.
For what?
Sounds like you and Roswell should be talking more about what he experienced over the past few days rather than talking to me about it.
He shrugged, sitting down on the counter without a care in the world.
He's got a point. Maybe we should compare notes.
Why did I give him this new voice? It's breaking my heart. This new voice is breaking my heart. Well, in that case, what happens today?
I don't know.
What do you mean? You said you thought it was days later, right?
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean I know what happened.
Well, I mean, he is dying, and that's sort of what I was going for, but, like, why did I choose that for him? Why? You didn't ask?
I did! At least, when I could.
Explain.
So the original plan was that I'd go along with Dominic after offering Benson as collateral, right?
I guess.
The idea being that if it was a trap, it's minimal losses in a sense.
Sure. I gave him a side eye and he waved it off, thinking things through.
But something went wrong where he couldn't go. When I woke up, the exchange had already happened.
Yeah. I mentally have issues. So, who was missing?
Well, I couldn't find Benson. Or you. Everyone else seemed pretty down in the dumps, so, you know, I thought it was obvious.
Then what happened? If I was missing, then clearly I would have been back, right?
Bold assumption there, Dave. Who said anything about what Russell saw being a branch off at this point in time? I was worried about that.
What possible timeline were we looking at?
Everyone was alive, I think. Or at least everyone you'd think of was accounted for.
Tyson, Dean, Orlando, Haas, Sal, yourself, and Oswin? Roswell thought it over, shaking his head.
Oswin? That's something that didn't line up. I could have sworn I'd see him, but...
But he's dead. More importantly, he died before he met any of us.
Go on. Explain that one. Who else could it have been?
Someone else working for Memphis, maybe?
Unlikely.
Well, if you saw him, where? When?
Emerging from the trees, heading back to the house.
And how would that be unlikely that he's working for Memphis, then? If this guy is literally walking out from where the bad guys are hanging out and all.
Okay, fine. You got me.
How do you know Oswin?
He's, in a bunch of photos at home. I remember my dad pointing him out to me after I'd read the trial report. Why does your dad have pictures of Oswin, though? One I could maybe understand as a client, but more than one seems odd. Roswell shrugged, but I shook my head. It doesn't make sense. There's one photo in particular I remember, though. It had Oswin and another boar in it I'd never met, but I never got a clear answer as to who that was. Heard Thanatos make a sound, but he seemed suddenly distracted elsewhere, looking off to the side. And you have no idea who that other boar would be? Roswell shook his head and dropped into a nearby stool to sit down. Still, it doesn't change the fact that Oswin is dead in this timeline. Fine, we'll come back to this. What else did you learn? Benson being alive angers Memphis enough that he takes revenge on all of us. By setting the house on fire. With us inside. Wait, but why hadn't we left by that stage? If the exchange goes through, then I don't get it. To be honest, my thoughts are a bit disjointed. I remember seeing Oswin come back to the house, but the next day, it's hard to know exactly what went wrong. You weren't back, though. Wait, so I was missing? It's very likely that you were possibly dead, Dave. Not that it matters. What do you mean? I don't want to die! More things become problematic if you die, is all I'm saying. Such as... What did I just say? So, was there anything useful we could learn about how today is going to go? Only that if Benson is still living, Memphis is going to consider him a threat and not take any risks. Based on something Benson already did, apparently. He means killing Dominic. So if Benson kills Dominic, we're screwed. There are very few options once he does. So step 1, we have to kill Benson? Not necessarily. So long as he's sedated as per the original plan, that should be fine. Once he's been neutralized in that sense, I don't think he's going to pose much of a threat. But you said if Benson doesn't die... That'd be step 2, making sure he dies in a way that convinces Memphis and his goons that you're not worth dealing with. But who's going to do it? How should I know? Wait, I do know. I'll do it. At least that way no one has to live with the guilt of it. We can't hope for Memphis or Dom or even Jack to do it instead. If we have to force their hand, then while they may have been the one doing the killing, it would have only been because someone set up the circumstances. Can we have step 2 be a little bit more flexible? Or at least decide later? Alright, sure. Is there a step 3? I'd assume that's just getting clear of the mountain before faced with the horrible fire. I could see his eyes twitch and his whole body shudder as he seemed to stare off into space upon mentioning it again. If that's all, then you should know the others are going to be getting up soon. If you want to run through all this again, look busy. Thanatos leapt at Roswell and scrambled down his back to the floor. One final nod, he slipped out the back just as the door opened from the dining room. I watched as 3 of my friends wandered in and joined the small circle that was forming while Haas wandered over to the kettle to make himself some tea. Morning. Roswell mumbled the same, though it seemed like he was still out of it, sipping his coffee slowly despite it having gone cold. So today's the day, huh? Roswell, you're looking better. How are you feeling? Another mumbled response with him seemingly distracted by something far off. Still waking up, but feeling better than yesterday, apparently. Have you two been up for a while? Couldn't sleep. Well, no wonder. I don't think any of us slept all that great either, though we apparently did get more than you did. If Roswell is feeling better, how does that affect the plan for tonight? Well, if he's feeling well, then back to the original plan, right? No one said anything, and I frowned upon not hearing from the one person I assumed would have something to say. Where's Ty? No idea. We sort of all ran into each other on the stairs and walked in together. Figured he'd already be down here if you and Roswell were. Guess he's still sleeping. Well, I suppose it doesn't matter too much. We'll go with Roswell, and if nothing else, we have a backup plan. Yep. I gave him a worried side glance, but he didn't seem to register it. Then home, and we'll finally get to go home. That's the plan. Haas wandered over with a cup of tea, looking tired but calm. So we just have to wait until Dominic gets here? And then do the Hoth did. Well, I guess exchange is the wrong word. Yeah, the fact that we have to hand over Benson makes us feel so wrong. Is he still where we left him? No idea, haven't checked. And Thanatos? Was in here talking to me and Roswell before. If he's keen on letting Benson go, then I imagine he's just going to go ahead and just, make sure that he's ready to go. Please don't say it like that. What else am I meant to say? I don't know either. I think if anything, we should find Tyson to make sure he's kept in the loop.
If Roswell is up, then there's one less thing he needs to fight Dean over. I'll go grab him if he's still in bed. Just give me a sec. Hoss wandered off, leaving the rest of us to our thoughts. Orlando moved off first, going to make some breakfast, but for the most part, it was toasted pumpkin bread. I don't think I'd ever say no to pumpkin bread, but with how much I gorged yesterday, my stomach said no for me. Sal wandered closer to Roswell and took him off to the side, looking worried. Roswell had been out of it since Thanatos left, which only really left myself and Dean by the coffee pot staring into the liquid as a fresh pot was made. We stood around waiting until we heard Hoss come back. He's not down here, is he? Who, Tyson? Not that we've seen. Well, he's not upstairs. That can't be right. I checked all the bedrooms, the rec room, even stuck my head into the museum, but he's not anywhere. What about downstairs? Figured that's where it'd go next, but not there either. Huh, he wouldn't have left, right? You know him better than any of us. Well, he wouldn't have just wandered off, not for coffee anyway. Someone say coffee. Dude, where the hell were you? Just went for a walk, no big deal. A walk where? Outside. Didn't go far, just a lap of the house. Because... Need to clear my head. Today's not going to be easy. I watched his eyes drifted from me over to Roswell, who offered him a half-hearted wave. Oh shit, it's Roswell. Yeah, so neither you or Dean needs to go into the woods now. Yeah, well, we'll see. Well, now what? But Tyson was already heading over to the coffee pot, pouring himself a cup.
If everyone's accounted for, then that's that. We just have to wait, right?
So we did. We holed up in the dining room, keeping watch for Dominic to arrive. We'd confirmed that Benson was where he was left, with Thanatos having confirmed that he sufficiently drugged him for the exchange. None of us liked it, as for someone that was about to head out into the woods, Roswell was eerily calm about it. Maybe he just resigned himself to what was going to happen. Part of me hoped he didn't need to go at all. I wandered outside to keep watch after having sat in the same room for most of the day, the fresh air doing me some good. It was quiet and getting later with still no sign of Dominic. I hadn't succumbed to something Thanatos had done, had I? The same thing that happened to Roswell? As I was about to head back inside, I saw something that made my skin crawl and blood go cold. Well, well, well! They made their way across the lawn to the back of the house, and I found myself backing up quickly. Wait here. Wait here. Oh no, we went over this on the walk here! Dom rolled his eyes casually, walking closer while Jack lingered back. You're here for the, My attention kept going to Jack, who was idly playing with a knife tucked into his waistband. The trade. Are we still going ahead with it? Yeah. Coming for a walk with us, Dave? I just want to be clear on what we're doing. We hand over someone and you show us the way off the mountain, right? Well, that's no fun. How about you hand over someone and we think about showing you off the mountain? That wasn't the agreement, Jack. The boss won't mind, I'm sure of it.
You're here.
Who the hell is this? Dom just waved Jack off and addressed Roswell. You's coming with us?
About that, yes, but I'm not the one you'll be keeping as collateral.
Then who? Roswell gestured to the door as Sal brought out Benson and propped him up against the side of the house. Oh, is that Benson? He's out cold, huh? Good collateral.
So you're going to take Benson as collateral. You're going to take me along for the walk, and after you've shown me how you got on the mountain, I'll come back to tell the others.
How is this a good deal for us? It makes our job easier and less messy. More boring, you mean? Jack, do us a favor and stop talking. You have yourself a deal. He wandered forward and collected Benson, and with a nod started to walk towards the woods. Roswell, come back soon?
Might be a couple hours, but don't worry. I'll be back before you know it.
Then Roswell wandered off too, almost with a spring in his step in the direction Dominic went. Never allowed to have any fun! Good! Then Jack, without even so much as a look in my direction, and they were all gone, somewhere beyond the trees, and I just had to hope that Roswell would be back soon. It's done now. Sal suddenly talking made me jump, but I turned around to face him. Yeah. Roswell will be back soon, don't worry. You think so? He just nodded, gesturing towards the back door where beyond the threshold I could see the others looking on from the foyer. Let's just wait for him to come back. It won't be long. Much like with the rest of the day, we just sat down and waited. Orlando got a deck of cards from upstairs to pass the time, but the hour started to tick by. After the second hour, we were convinced it could just be a longer walk than what we gave it credit for. After third, we justified it as his legs just being shorter. By the fifth, though, we spent long stretches staring at the back door, wondering what was keeping him. Night had fallen hours ago, so the trek back would have been so much worse in the dark. Much like the first time
that he'd gotten lost, or rather now with the power of foresight, Orlando started throwing together something sweet in the kitchen to maybe help guide Roswell back to the house. The lack of sleep was catching up to me, though, and I found myself dozing against various people as they came to sit next to me. At some point just after midnight, I must have passed out. The weightless feeling of being picked up and carried somewhere was the last thing I registered before it all went black. Roswell would be back eventually, and soon. I just had to have faith. Fuck. They killed him. It was always a case of waiting. Waiting for Roswell to come back, waiting for us to get off the mountain, waiting for Dad to get home, always waiting. I could feel myself being moved, though I was far from conscious. At first I thought it was a dream, if not immediately accompanied by sudden warmth covering my whole body. Bed, maybe? The sun? My mind went to a campfire, or a cozy fireplace in some place far from the mountain. Anywhere from here, the further the better. The furthest place I could think of was my street. It was safe, it was familiar, more importantly. It was the bus stop, a short way from my house, and the place we all gathered at the start of the month. It was a place where if we'd never have gotten on that bus, we wouldn't find ourselves scared for our lives. What would have happened if I never got on that bus? What would have happened if I just stopped everyone from getting on the bus? Or even then, what if we had just gone to the beach instead? Maybe if I wished hard enough, I'd magically appear there. Maybe I'd wake up and this would all just be some dream I was having. The moment I opened my eyes, I sighed. A half-hearted slap to my face told me that I was awake and that this wasn't a dream. Now, how I got to the bed was a mystery. All I could tell was that it was still morning, and I was in my own room. Half expected to wake up next to someone, or at least be in a different room, but this must have just been easier. I grumbled and got out of bed, rubbing my eyes, grabbed a change of clothes and stumbled towards the door, opening it slowly. Sounds were coming up from the foyer, though when I got there no one was around. It seemed that whoever was around had moved into the dining room. Hello? Sal was there, though I could hear someone else in the kitchen. My immediate guess would have been Orlando or Dean, but I sat down at the table. Hey. Oh, good morning. He was stiff, distracted, and I got the answer as to why before I could ask correctly. Roswell still hasn't come back. I waited up all night, but nothing. You're not tired? Exhausted. Hoss wandered out from the kitchen with tea, setting down a cup in front of Sal. Hey, Dave. Sleep alright? I guess so. Roswell's not back, though? Yeah, I napped earlier to try and keep a lookout with Sal, but nothing. I don't like it. Something could have happened to him. Last time he just got lost. This time, well. We know there are people out there. And he followed one out into the woods. He'll be fine. Thanatos scrambled up the tablecloth and came to a stop just beside where I was sitting. Oh, will he now? Yeah, we're just going to finish Path B tonight, and then we'll figure out a new game for about a week. Yeah. Oh, will he now? Yes. Can we define fine? As in, not dead. That's better. If you know what's happened to him, I want to hear it. What are you going to do? Make me tell you? I was going to ask nicely. Would that work? At this point, if it doesn't, I'm willing to go to more extreme measures. How extreme are we talking? I'll save you the effort. Ripping my head off isn't going to work. Who would do that? Well, Dave most likely. He tries anyway. Huh? But if you really want to know how it'll be fine, just wait. I don't want to wait. Too bad. There's nothing we can do at all? Unless you're planning on sending Dean to go look for him, not really. Would that be a good idea, sending Dean in? Let's just think about that for a second. Roswell is missing somewhere out there, and you think sending someone else in is a good idea? Sounds like a trap to me. If we were to send anyone in, I agree that it should be Dean, but I have my reservations about it too. See? Just wait and Roswell will be fine. I really don't like how you leave it as fine. Well, tough luck. If I may ask, though, is everything going according to plan like you've been through this before? Sure. And now the truth? That's the truth. What was a pause for, then? Parts of my memory are missing from how things play out. I only have small glimpses and I'm filling in the blanks. And then the end? Deleted. Someone deleted... How did your memories get deleted? Sal, he's the vault or whatever, remember? Just a robot. So someone hacked him. That's, maybe. If they did, I don't know anything about it. How can we find out? Trust me, if there's a way I would have looked into it myself. All I can tell you is that keep going as we are and Roswell shows up again. That feels very unintuitive. If he's going to show up, then I guess that's it. It sucks waiting, but what else can we do? Something I'm not clear on, if I can ask. Go for it. How do you know Roswell will show back up if your memory has been altered? Not altered, just sections removed.
Sorry, yes, that's what I meant. But what if we do something between now and when you see Roswell comes back? That changes how things play out? Thanatos went to quip back. I could see the smirk on his face as he poised himself towards Sal. But it quickly faded as his answer seemed to have never come. Thanatos? What? You going to say something? Say anything to that, or? No. Because I don't have to. Because he doesn't know. Shut it! So you do know? He was fuming, though remained quiet. So really we have the option of doing nothing and hoping for the best, or actually trying to fix a problem by sending someone out there. But that's not what I said! I said Roswell would be fine! Yeah? Under what circumstances? He just shows up! As in, alone? Where? It doesn't matter. It kind of matters. A little bit. Okay, so when the others get down here, we'll run through what our options are. Looked across to Thanatos, and he seemed to be at a loss. It was a problem only because Thanatos knew Roswell would return, just not how. Or why, given he seemed to not want to share. I guess that's all we can do, right? Do whatever you want. Hey, Thanatos, can I ask you something? What? Not now. Later. I don't know how to phrase it yet. Or you could just ask now. May as well. Oh, sure, I guess. Ask me later. But I can ask you now. Later. But... And he was gone, leaving me scratching my head. That seemed a little rude. Where were you going to ask him anyway? He just seemed upset, so I wanted to know how he was okay. What else? If he had any ideas on what we could do to ensure Roswell comes back. He seemed stressed. And what else? What do you mean, what else? The two of them shared a brief look at one another before turning back to me. I understand that he's a vault, and that you use a vault to keep us safe, but he's not manipulating you, is he? Not the line I had gone for, but a good enough start. Well, yeah, he's manipulating everyone, isn't he? Dave, that doesn't make it better. If anything, that's evidence to show we shouldn't do what he says. Unless it's part of his plan, assuming we wouldn't believe him to do the very thing that he wants us to. So what, we gamble on it? We take a calculated risk. Meaning... If Dean is willing, and only if he is willing, I say we send him into the woods to find out what happened to Roswell. Versus, what, waiting? The reason I think being proactive here is better, is due to what happened to make Roswell leave in the first place. Benson is also gone, so at some point Dominic will be back, likely with Memphis. And Jack. Exactly. And, well, we can't just hide, or run. To that end, we give up on Roswell. Don't even think about leaving that chair, Dave. You can talk to Thanatos later. I'd barely shifted, but he was right. I thought I'd seen a means to find out what was on his mind, but Haas already knew where my mind was at. Sorry. We can't run, otherwise we assume Roswell and Orlando are not factors to consider when we leave via the main road. Unless you know any other routes off the mountain. Orlando I get, but we don't know about Roswell. All the more reasons to find out. He's our friend after all. He might be in trouble and need help. I could have brought up the reason why he was the one to go in the first place. It was wrong, though, in that I would much rather know for certain as to if he was okay rather than assume he was gone. So we wait, right, for the others? Yeah, I guess so. Didn't take long for the others to trickle in. Even less time for them all to be seated at the table so Sal could tell them that, regrettably, Roswell hadn't shown up. Then the conversation seemed to repeat, just minus Thanatos. The discussion of what to do next, the pros and cons of going out into the woods to find Roswell versus trying to leave now. Orlando headed into the kitchen, and much like when I disappeared into the woods, his plan was to bake something sweet with what was left to guide him back. It's not really a choice, is it? It's always a choice. He's right. You don't have to if you don't want to. Dean looked at me, expecting something else, but just shook his head. We can't leave him out there if he's in trouble. You'll be careful, right? He gave me a quick thumbs up and a nod. I'll be back before you know it. Then, once we got Roswell, we can figure out what to do next. We should wait for Orlando to finish baking first if it's going to work at all. It'll make your job finding him easier. That's a dangerous call. We could frantically bake the whole day away if left unchecked, so we should place a cap on how long to wait. Smart idea. No sense in waiting until nightfall to get to looking. Do you need anything? I can give you my flashlight if you need it. Should be fine without it. If I can't find another, I'll take you up on it, but pretty sure I packed a small one. Would a larger one not be better? Given how dark it is in there, I don't think size really matters. Trust me, I'll be fine. What about a weapon? Not a bad idea, though. I'd like it if I didn't have to use one. As grim as it may be, hearing a gunshot echoing out is only going to make us worry. That's what I was thinking, so what if I just take the axe from the greenhouse, or an knife to help me clear brush? Knife probably works best. An axe is probably just going to get in the way. Rope. You'll need rope. For what?
Maybe if you need to tie something up? I was thinking more in general. If Roswell's fallen somewhere you need to pull him out of. Or make some sort of carrying thing. Oh yeah, sure. You know how to make things like that? Shouldn't be too hard, not too different from setting up a hammock from scratch. Alright, well, if there's anything we can do to assist, now's the time to ask. Let's say, if we could find some sort of signal or sound if Roswell ever makes his way back, that'd be nice. No point in being out there if he shows up, right? Do we have anything like that? A flare gun or perhaps some sort of siren? The dinner bell? Think it'll be loud enough? We can give it a try. We might not have any other reasonable options. Failing that, I'll try and come back around nightfall if only to check in. How's that? It'd make me feel a little better, but we'll find Roswell before then, right? I sure hope so. We need the Dirk boyfriend here. We need comfort. I looked across to Tyson, who had been quiet up until this point. What do you think, Ty? Huh? What? About Dean going into the woods. Oh, sure, sounds great. Really? You don't have anything to add? Not really. Huh. Look, Roswell didn't come back, so that sucks. We don't really have much in the way of options unless we make a run for it, but that'd mean leaving someone behind. And I already know if I suggested it, you'd say no, so what's there to say? He got up from the table and shrugged. I'm gonna go see if I can stooge some of this food Orlando's baking. I was barely out of my chair before he disappeared into the kitchen, looking back at the other three back in conversation about some plan for Dean to follow. Which left me to go find Thanatos, though I had no idea where he'd be. Thanatos, are you around? Hello, are you in here? It did take me long to find him as he was standing by the window looking outside. Hey, is now a good time to talk? Sure. So, about what you said downstairs, about your memories. What about them? I thought I was pretty clear about it. Well, I guess, but why? Why are they missing? He just continued looking out the window, looking out at the trees. What parts are still there? Do you know who could have deleted them at least? I do. I just don't understand why. Who? My master. He's the one that would have done it. But when? He just shrugged, placing a hand on the glass and shifting slightly. What part of me not remembering do you not understand? At some point, my master deleted my memories of this sequence of events. As for why, beats me. So what? We're just off guessing as to what's meant to happen? Basically. What about Roswell? I said he'd be fine. In one version of events, anyway. I trust what my master told me. We just have to wait. So your master knows what's happened to Roswell. You'd have to ask him. Hey, Thanatos, are you okay? Huh? Like, I don't think having your memories messed with feels very nice, so are you okay? That's not a question you should be asking Robot Dave. Still, would you rather me just leave you alone? Nah, probably better you stick around. Besides, take a look out the window. Looked behind him and saw the endless trees, mountains rising and falling. Somewhere out there was Roswell and a bunch of bad people. As big as my cage is, this is about as far as I get to see out of it. So you really can't leave the house. Remember, this body just lets me look around and move a bit. It's better to think about it that I'm part of the house. Even if we put you on, like, a disc or something? Yeah, good luck with that. I think the world is full enough with only one of me. I sat down next to him and continued looking out of the window. So if you can't leave, how did you meet your master? It was a long time ago. So long ago that he doesn't even remember. Because it wasn't in this timeline? I remember what I was like back then, when we first met, the first time I was switched on. I remember knowing nothing. I remember feeling nothing. You can feel things now? What are feelings if only electric signals in the brain? I can mimic most of them enough that it doesn't matter to me. Which ones can't you copy? I've been asking myself for the past few timelines. Can I feel fear? What's it like? What about love? Hope? Sadness? Do you know what happiness is like? Yes, if abstract. Meaning I understand fundamentally that if my master is happy, then I should be. Makes me have responses in a certain way when I know I've done a good job. Pride? Beats me. He turned away from the window and sat down next to me, looking at the floor. I'm tired, Dave. Because no one is meant to live this long. I know it's been too long because I've already cycled through thinking about if I'm alive or what it means to be alive or if life has meaning or if a certain quality of life is worth upholding. I don't get it. Say, for instance, you went from a normal hyena to being in a terrible accident. Something so horrible that you're left bedridden for the rest of your life, barely able to function. That sounds awful. It does, but you'd be alive. But is that living? That's the point I'm making. I would say yes, you are in fact alive, so that's it.
But you don't get to go outside or do things. It's like you're just there, existing.
That's my point. You have vitals, you're alive.
It's more than that. Being able to feel and do and see things, get some sort of nice feeling from these things, and bad feelings too, I guess.
I don't understand.
Maybe it's not something robots can understand. Seemed to sit with that sentiment for a moment. Still quiet by the time I thought of something else to ask. We've had this conversation before, haven't we?
Potentially. If we did, I don't remember it.
What do you still remember of this, situation?
Most of today is just empty.
That wasn't what I asked.
I remember witnessing you and Tyson having an argument. I remember Roswell being somewhere, alive.
As in, he's already here?
If he was already here, I would have just said that. He's just around for something later.
Which means he either returns or Dean finds him.
And without knowing which of the two options to go with, it's hard to know which leads to what I've seen. We could be on a new branch, to be honest.
Which means what?
It means I'm still deciding on which path I want to try.
Why not let Dean go in and try and find Roswell and we just see what happens?
And if it goes horribly wrong, can you live with that on your conscience?
And if waiting is the wrong choice, can you live with yourself knowing you talked us out of it?
I don't have a conscience. I just chalk it up as a fail and go through it again, but different the next time.
Which is going to be hard with parts of your memory missing, isn't it?
I don't like what you're insinuating.
I'm just saying that we don't know how this all works. You do, obviously. But how can you know what the right or wrong call is from the fact your memory has been messed with?
You have a point.
Meaning?
Well, we'll do it your way. See what happens when Dean goes into the woods.
And I guess I should go find out why I'm going to argue with Tyson?
Sure, I guess.
Before that, though, one last question.
What is it?
How do your memories get removed anyway? It's not like brain surgery is an option, right?
2 ways. If someone could find my mainframe, they could potentially mess with it, though we'd be looking at a lot more than just a few memories lost here and there.
Not that you'd know you've forgotten bigger chunks anyway, right?
True, but it's unlikely that's what has happened based on what's left. It feels too selective.
So they,
Chances are my master asked me to forget certain things. A lot by the looks of it.
But why?
Beats me. Maybe something bad happened, maybe something good happened, and this is a way to try and force it to repeat.
And we won't know until we ask.
Chances are asking isn't going to help if it's something that happens long after all of these things come to pass.
But what we do know is that this has all happened before. At least once, right?
You're learning, Dave. I'm so proud.
I rolled my eyes and stood up, Thanatos remaining by the window. I'm going to go see what's happening downstairs, figure out if Dean needs anything else before he goes searching. Did you want to come with?
I'd rather stay here and watch. I have things to think about anyway.
Well, good luck thinking, I guess. The temptation to just finish it tomorrow is real. So I'll let you all decide. Are we finishing it tonight or tomorrow? I know I said I'd do it tonight, but I want to know. Are we finishing it tonight or tomorrow? Okay. We'll finish Path B tomorrow. We'll finish Path B tomorrow, and then we're going to take a week. So we're leaving off here tonight. Fuck. Okay. Okay. We're almost done. We are almost done. With Path B, we are almost done. And then we are going to take a week. We're going to play a different game. I think I'll just decide a new one. And we'll go from there. Anyways, stay safe, have a good night, and I will see you all tomorrow.